us and we can stay up all night, kissing under streetlights, doing what we want to, doing what we need to do, staying up all night, everything is alright. Oh, I wanna be with you, oh, I wanna be with you. Let me be that someone who can hold your hand. I don't even know if you can understand how you make me feel. I got you in my head. Oh, I wanna be with you, oh, I wanna be with you. Let me be that someone who can hold your hand. I don't even know if you can understand how you make me feel. I got you in my head. Oh, I wanna be with you, oh, I wanna be with you, be with you. All that time away from you, I didn't think I'd make it without you by my side. Let me feel your love again, just the two of us and we could stay up all night, kissing under streetlights, doing what we want to, doing what we need to do, staying up all night, everything is alright. Oh, I wanna be with you, oh, I wanna be with you. Let me be that someone who can hold your hand. I don't even know if you can understand how you make me feel. I got you in my head.
Welcome back to another Habs Nation Barbecue Show with the hockey coach, your coach Frenchy, directly from the beautiful country of Thailand, the land of the smile. And we have to go all the way to find our co-hosts from Hawkesbury to Toronto. Mr. Marko Larabi and Enortap are back in the house tonight.
Hello, Hockey Nation.
Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully you have an amazing, great week. It's almost the end of the August already, and we know when the football is back, the NFL. Is it the NFL start this week or next week?
Preseason
after
right
Labor Day.
I'm sorry?
It's
Still
preseason
early.
right now?
It's after. Yeah, it's after the Labor Day. The week after.
So I need to figure out my fantasy football. I'm not ready for that one for sure. But welcome back, everybody. Thanks. I just want to finish one thing on my internet here to be sure I have no problem. Thanks to join us tonight. We're going to talk about a lot of things because, yes, we have a new players. The highest player in the NHL signed a contract of 4 years. I was talking about Mr. Austin Matthew. Going to hear from comments in the chat for you from Marko and Enortap about that. We have a lot of NHL headlines to talk about. Montreal Canadiens. Tonight we talk about the fight for the spot, in the lineup or the roster for the upcoming season. This is the biggest subject we have tonight. Of course, we're going to talk about Logan Mailloux and a couple of the news around the league. But before we start, we're going to welcome a few people in the chat. The crew of the Mods are back in the house, Mr. Enortap and Marko, talking about Luciano, Ron, and Jose Duarte. All three are back in the house tonight. Thanks so much, everybody, to be a part of the show tonight.
Very nice.
Don't forget to click on the likes. We have few people knock the door. Going to go very quickly. We have Claude Richard from Ottawa, Gary Cournoyer, the driver of the UPS in Montreal, in the house, Ron in Utah, Luciano in Toronto area. Jake McEnwee back in the house tonight. Jake, thanks so much. Ron from Utah, like I mentioned to you, welcome back. Roger Conrad is in the house. Welcome back, Rogers. Jose Duarte, upstate New York. Followed by René Morin, back in the house tonight. René, thank you so much to be with the Hockey National Show tonight. Ab 25 overall this year to 17 next season. And I agree with that. Maybe. It's not a bad one. Is there a specific super chat donation that will trigger Marco having to the go? Here we go about that one there, René Morin. About that.
If Enortap
well
shaves
done,
off his
my
mustache,
friend. Go Bill, go
if
the
Enortap
Steelers for René Morin. About that, yeah. I need to maybe do something here. Maybe, I don't know. About that. But William McLaren, back from Ontario, is in the house. And our friend Sam P. We did not see Sam for the last couple of nights. Sam, welcome back. Thanks to be with our Canadian Live Show. We appreciate a lot, everybody. Don't forget, please, to click on the likes. We're going to carry on that show for 60 to 75 to 90 minutes on this great Wednesday night, August 23rd, 2023. It's coming soon. The training camp. Everything on that. What we have on the menu tonight, Coach? First of all, guys, we're going to talk about 48 days before the upcoming season. And tonight, we celebrate the number 48, the Jofa helmet, Mr. Jean-Jacques Daigneault. Who cannot remember Jean-Jacques Daigneault for the Montreal Canadiens? Played with the Longueuil Chevalier and the QM, if you remember. Been assistant coach for the Montreal Canadiens and many other teams before we disappear. I don't know what's going on with Daigneault. Do you know? Anybody know what's going on with Daigneault?
Didn't he? Wasn't he a head coach in the Q for a while?
He was. I don't know if he's still there. So that was my point of view. My question.
I think last I heard he was doing like professional scouting for Minnesota, I want to say.
Yeah, at some point. Fight for the spot at training camp. This is a big subject tonight. I want to give you a couple of fun questions for the chat and for you guys, Enortap and Marko. Fight for the spot for the next training camp for the Montreal Canadiens. If you follow my abs, Daily News today, use next big move. Some of you said it was easy what he did so far, but the biggest move from him will be like from Christian Dvorak, Joel Armia, Jake Allen, David Savard, many others, could be including Josh Anderson, and of course Brennan Gallagher. We'll see if we can do that. So I make a trade proposal between the Winnipeg Jet and the Montreal Canadiens. You can watch the video. That'd be great. A little bit later, guys, we're going to talk about the pool. We got tonight a new question, and then the result of yesterday. And finally, at the end of the show, the Frenchy Quiz. But if you have any question, please don't forget to put the letter Q in front of the question. You can take advantage from Marko and Enortap to be with us tonight. So any question you want to talk about, anything, we can go through about that. We're going to give you the best information we know with some great knowledge they have already. And that's what we expect tonight. Don't forget, please click on the like. That's what we got so far. But before we start, we have a few people knock the door. We have Randy Walkman from Alberta is in the house tonight. Welcome back, Randy.
What's up, Randy? You must be happy tonight. You must be very happy.
Yeah, of course.
What did Calgary do?
Of course. Anything you want to start with something, Marko? Maybe what happened in the last couple of days, whatever it is, and then we can move on for the big subject of the night.
Yeah, actually, Coach, now that you bring it up, very cool thing. I think I look back and I think 2 days ago, I think I made my first appearance on your show 1 year ago, 2 days ago. So I just wanted to say happy anniversary to me. I thought that would be a cool opportunity. It was good. No, it's been almost over a year that I discovered your channel, and just want to say how happy I am to be part of the community, and it's been a lot of fun being on here. So thanks for having me, Coach, and thanks to everyone who's welcomed me into the community. It's been a crazy year, but it's been really, really good. So almost over a year, Coach. Can you believe it?
Sorry again.
been over a year that we've been that I've been coming on your show
Yeah,
now.
exactly. 1 year now, you'll be a part of the show. So we are really thankful, grateful by have both of you, by the way, to be with the Hockey Nation family. And at the end of the day, not only me, but many people in the chat are really grateful about to have both of you with us when you can. So thanks so much about that. You turn what? 41 years old now? What?
Yeah, well, I'm a little jealous that you still mentioned Enortap because it's not his anniversary today, but I understand you have to give him some praise as well. But that's yeah. No, it's. I wish I was 41 years old, Coach. I've been
What
a
happened
Habs
like 2
fan.
days ago? Because you disappeared for a couple of days. Is it because your celebration of your birthday?
No, just really really busy with work. Unfortunately, I was, with moving and everything. I had a lot of time off, so just catching up with work. Kind of boring, but very excited. I'm right with you. 48 days, Jean-Jacques Dingo amount of days for training camp. So very exciting.
Awesome, Mr. Enortap.
That's great, Marco. It's been great having you come aboard the last year. It's definitely been. I'm getting worried because we're starting to agree more and more on things now. So I don't know if that's a product of familiarity or whatever the case may be. But I think we might start some stir some things up today. We'll see.
Yes, let's make a point of it.
Absolutely right about this. Anything, Mr. Enortap, before?
No, I'm actually very surprised. I thought it'd be a lot quieter this summer, but we're starting to see almost on a daily basis some little piece of news trickling in. Today we had about 3 things that I can recall that happened between Bouchard, Matthews, and Lafreniere signing. So it's going to be picking up for sure, and it's going to be a great preseason and training camp as well.
Awesome. RJ Calabro knocked the door. Welcome back. Following by Mr. I forgot that is right here. Julian Small is on the house. We're going to answer to your question in the next couple of minutes. Don't worry about that one over there. And from William McCloy, guys, for you. Both are solid addition, very knowledgeable about hockey. So thanks so much, William, to sharing that.
Thank you, William.
Well said about that, and absolutely I agree with you about this. So let's start with this. Is a great news about this. And when I saw the contract today, honestly, of the Austin Matthews signed a 4 years contract, and Lafreniere signed the contract. We're starting with Austin Matthews. Let's move on this situation. For he become the NHL highest salary players with over $13 million. I don't know what you think about him. Overall of his contract. Let's start with Mr. Enortap. What do you feel about, of course, Austin Matthews, the new highest player in NHL, 4 years contract?
Well, of course, there was a lot of speculation at different points after the year was over that, maybe, and things were looking a little bit down in the sense that it looked like those rumors could come to fruition that he might decide to leave or at least not extend. However, given that Trey Living came over from Calgary and he had a very similar experience happen to him with both Tkachuk and Gaudreau as well, I was banking more on the fact that he would sign. It wouldn't have gone over well if on 2 different teams, he would eventually lose a player for nothing. So it's not surprising. The amount is not surprising. I think I had predicted between 13 and 13 and a half. The term is a little bit surprising. I didn't think it would be a 4-year deal. I thought it might be a 2 or 3 year deal. But, you got to lock up your best player sometimes, and they've gone this route, but I'm telling you, they're digging themselves quite a hole in terms of the salary cap, and something's going to have to happen. When you look at the contract itself, guys, if you look at players that have signed for over $10 million on an AAV with less than a 7-year term, There's only 2 players that have done that. Matthews now twice, and Marner. So that speaks to maybe, I don't know, not managing your assets well. Like I know they're both very good hockey players. I'm not disputing that, and sometimes you have to pay to keep those kind of stars. But when you look at their top 4 players right now, and they consume almost 50% of your salary cap, at some point you're going to run into trouble.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, so I don't know. I have a bit more of a rosy, I guess, outlook on it than so. Here's our opportunity to disagree a little bit, I guess, Enortap. Like,
Sure.
like, I was expecting, in the neighborhood of 3 to 5 years. Looking at the reaction from Leafs fans on Twitter, a lot of them are disappointed that he didn't sign up for the whole 8 years. And you're right, like, these kind of franchise elite players, usually you're looking at McDavid, looking at McKinnon, Makar, they've all signed for 8-year terms, so it's a little bit unusual. But Coach and Enortap, like, this brings him. It's really 5 years, right? Because he has one more year on his existing contract, and then an additional 4 years. So you've got Matthews for 5 years. I think at times out he'll be 30 years old, or even 31 years old, if I'm not mistaken. To me, that's the perfect time where you don't want to be paying a player $13.5 million. If it was me, that's a perfect term. Like, if I was a GM, I'd like to have that protection of not paying somebody who is in their prime the same amount of money than when they're probably starting to decline a little bit in terms of their production. It's impossible to say what kind of physical condition Auston Matthews will be, in 5-6 years from now. But I like the term. I think it works well for both teams. In terms of him being the highest paid player, guys, like, you can't just look at the annual salary, right? Like, players sign at different times when the salary cap was lower, and it's impossible to really compare. The true metric that people should look at is the percentage on the salary cap that the player signed at the time that they signed. To me, that's the most accurate representation. And if you're looking at that particular metric, McDavid, and I read this today, so I don't remember the exact, but I think McDavid is somewhere, when he signed his contract, he represented 16% of the Oilers' cap at that time, and Matthews is somewhere around 15.7 or something like that. So even though he's making more money than McDavid, if you look at it in terms of percentage of cap, he's still earning less than McDavid with proportion to the cap. So to me, that makes sense, right? Like, he should be getting paid less percentage than McDavid, because McDavid is the best player in the world. But you could argue that Matthews is at least in the top 5, depending who you talk to. So I think it's fine. Like, in terms of the Leafs and where that leaves them with their cap, like, I think the biggest flaw in Dubas's strategy before is just he couldn't predict that there was going to be a pandemic, right? And that the cap was going to stay flat. Otherwise, he probably would have had a little bit more cap space to work with, and maybe he would have been able to do some different things. So I think the cap is going to go up. So overall, Coach, I like the deal for both sides.
Great comment about this. McDavid at 15% of his salary right now, and then after that you have Matthews at 13.9% right now on the upcoming season. One is going to be a final year. All depends. It depends how much money the salary cap is going to be. So you're going to readjust about that. So a great explanation, Marco. Not only about the money they make, the AAV, but the salary now is really what the template of the general manager are looking more about when they do the template for the salary cap, how number or percentage go to directly for a players. We have a few people in the chat. Matthew's top 5 for the regular season. We have a few people knock the door. Steve G is in the house, ladies and gentlemen, following by John Garage. I just see John Garage in the house. And then we have Abby Nation is in the house. Another big fan of the Habs. Anybody else want to have a question? A few people knock the door. Oh, Jerry Willett is in the house. Always a pleasure to have Jerry. Jerry have a lot of knowledge about hockey too. And then, John said about it's a high number of the story. What do you think about this, coach? I look about this, I always said, and I know Luciano said, and then how about Rick Bengal? I would love to have Rick tonight. How many times he said, I was just going to leave the Montreal the Toronto Maple Leaf last season. And then I always said he would not go nowhere. And Nylander said an interview with Sportnet, he's not going to go nowhere. He wants to play for the Toronto Maple Leaf. That's Nylander said.
Yeah, but
But that's the problem. That's the problem, Coach. It's the percentage that they make up. It's not individual. Like I know we brought up 13.9 or 13.5, whatever it is that Matthews is taking up contract wise for the team now, or salary cap wise, and it's still less than McDavid. But when you put together their top 4 players, and they're eating up over 48% of your salary cap, and that's not even throwing in Riley. If you throw in Riley, they're going to be at around 56, 57%. So you're not going to have a fluency, or you will have a fluency of players that come in and out of your organization. And you can't maintain that over the course of building an organization to where it should be. Like we constantly talk about Boston and how they've done the right things over the years, and players have taken contracts that are less than what they're probably worth as players, when it came up to Bergeron and it came up to Marchand and many others. And now it's changing. I understand that. But why have they been at the top of the league for many, many years? That's the reason. And the way Montreal is going right
about
now,
this, guys, and I don't want to go against you, but Vegas Golden Knights, they have the same thing like Toronto, and they win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and you could say that's
they
one
have
of the best
12,
things that
they have 12, 11, and 10.5. Pietrangelo at 8.5. That's only the lowest one. You have Mark Stone at 9.5 and Jack Eichel at $10 million. Now, they have 11 million Marner, Tavares, and Matthews. I understand a little bit higher.
Yeah.
But they have only 3. Now you said Nylander is what, 6.9. But look about that. They have Carlson, Marchessault, Barbashev, and then they have Martinez and Theodore. I'm talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players at $5 million. So I don't know you have a specific template to what the one you try to said that. And I can understand your point of view, but that's what you need. If you want to have a super elite in your team, Montreal Canadiens are not going to win anything if they stay at $8 million. Forget about that. They're not going to win anything. Anything.
No, yeah, but Coach, we've been through this, and this regime right now that's running Montreal, their biggest problem has been to get rid of some of the contracts that were incurred in the previous administration, in order to build to something that is more sustainable over a longer period of time. Now, when you bring up Vegas and you bring up the Leafs here, they're banking on one thing and one thing only. They're putting all their cards in the middle, all their chips in the middle, and they're saying, we're going for it. And if it happens, it happens. Now, the Leafs, with the exception of this year, haven't been able to get out of the first round. So we'll see if things change. I'm not saying that it's not going to work. It could very well work. But I don't think it's something that is sustainable over the course of time.
For me, is underpaid. Austin Matthews.
The Leafs
his value market on the GSVA is $16 million.
Yeah, Matthews definitely took a discount, guys. Like, no question. Like, so there's but like I said, Enortap,
you think
the part that Dubas wasn't it was impossible for him to predict that there was going to be a pandemic and that the salary cap was going to stay flat, right? That was part of their strategy, is that the cap was going to grow and that they were going to be able to find a little bit of room there. So that's not, you can't really blame him for that. Secondly,
no,
the big thing to me, the strongest point, and why I think even though I think it was a really dumb move for Dubas to go to Pittsburgh, because they're going to have to demolish and rebuild that thing maybe in 2 years from now. But he's the perfect guy for that job because Pittsburgh is built the same way, right? Like they're very top heavy. And Dubas is the matter of finding bargain players like Bunting and players like that to come in and fill out the bottom part of that lineup, right? Now, you can certainly criticize Dubas for the style of team that he put together, like getting Dennis Malgin and players like that. Like everybody that follows the Leafs always wanted a little bit more grit to fill out that bottom six and everything else. And I think he was learning that lesson. But in terms of being able to manage the situation of having a very top heavy team with the cap, there are ways to do it. Like look at Tampa. Tampa's kind of doing the same thing, right? Like they also are very top heavy. Coach used Vegas as an example. I think what we learned through Vegas, like we had this conversation after they won the cup, is there's not really one specific template that is guaranteed to help you win a cup, right? Like Vegas traded their way into getting a cup versus building, drafting and developing players, right? So there's a lot of different ways to do it. If we want to tie this back to Montreal, because this is a Habs channel, we've talked about this. Habs don't have elite talent, so they're going to have to go the route of the Carolina Hurricanes or New York Islanders or, like a team like that where they're coming at you with a balanced lineup. That's really the only way, and you can win the cup that way. But yeah, so Enortap, I get it. Like it's been a tough situation for the Leafs to manage with the flat cap. But like Coach said, Austin Matthews did leave money on the table for this, so he didn't take the full 8 years. But I think that's if I'm Toronto, I don't hate that. I don't hate that he's coming off my books, at 30 or 31 years old, making $13.5 million.
Yeah, they get the best prim of him.
Individually, no. Yeah, but you're also now going to get him when this contract's over. You're going to get him at 30 years of age, and this is why I think Matthews signed it. At 30 years of age, he's not going to be looking for another 3-4 year contract after that. That's the point where he's going to go all in and say, assuming everything goes well in these 5 years, he's going to say, I want 7 or 8 years somewhere. Now the question comes up, are you as the general manager willing to pay him? And it won't be 13.5. By then it could be around 18 if he continues in this way. Are you willing to do that? Are you going to keep him when he's not in his prime?
That's that's really hard to predict right now. We don't know what kind of
course.
Yeah. So I think you cross that bridge when you get there, right? Like, at this point, Tree Living, he's secured his top player, for I think a good number, comparing to kind of what he could have fetched on the market. One thing we didn't mention as well, too, guys, is Tavares is coming off the books in 2 years as well, too, right? So I think it's over the next 2 years, Toronto is going to have, I think, 13, or I can't remember, but a high number of UFAs, including Nylander and everyone. But they're going to have a lot of turnover in that lineup, right?
Yeah. There'll be at least 6 or 7 that I can recall. Yeah.
You're going to have next season, guys, not in 2 years, next season. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 players are going to be UFA. And then you have in 2 years, the 2 players, Marner and Tavares, at the same time are going to be UFA. And behind that, Matthews decide to do this way. He get the highest pay, and in NHL, he deserve it. He scored 299 goals and 481. He's on the pace right now like Ovechkin. Nobody can score like he did so far. So he's really dominate about that. He's one of the best players on the 5 versus 5 even strength score goal in NHL. He deserves that kind of money. Secondly, why he goes with 4 years? Because if he signed for 8 years, you don't know what's going to happen with Toronto in the next 4 years. So he can turn around the switch. He can go somewhere else if he wants to get the win, the Stanley Cup, everything like that. That's not saying he's going to resign. It. I will be shocked if he signed for 8 years. I'll be shocked if he do this again, the next contract at 31 years old. He's going to get another contract, max 6 years, maybe less of that. And he's going to targeting now if Toronto are still in the pace to try to win the Stanley Cup or not. And of course, you're going to see what Marner and other players are going to be around that. Like Marco said, the next 2 years, as the core together, they're going to try to win the Stanley Cup. And then after that, you're going to have a change for there. And I think that's the reason they try to maybe keep Nylander and Marner. And then they can say, you know what, we're going to have Nylander right now for his new contract higher. But when the Tavares will be out, that they be balance their template of the salary cap. Plus, they're going to have more money on in front of them because we know the NHL is going to increasing between $3 to $7-8 million in the next 2 years. The salary cap, don't expect the salary cap to go maybe 86 to 88, and at the end of the 2025 2026. So. Again, for me, this is a great contract for both parties. I think the league are happy about that. And then for the Matthews, he can see what's going to happening. And again, at the end of the day, in our top, when you make about what? Almost $100 million your first 10 years, 12 years in NHL, you're not going to be, let's see, go 8 years to my security. The security is already there. I think now at 31 years old, usually other things affect the players' own decision, the family, the team, and after that, the quality of life is getting now more involved compared at 25, 26, 27. For me, he's a rare player to go to another road to get contract every 3, 4, 5 years, and that's the suggestion about that, and that's. And people can complain about him. He loved to play in Toronto. He wants to win in Toronto. And sometimes we are really hard on the players because they don't win. You have only one team win, guys, the NHL Stanley Cup. 31 team. Montreal Canadiens never going to win maybe the Stanley Cup with the under Nick Suzuki can use Martin St. Louis. Because you have only one team. It's difficult to win the Stanley Cup. What they're looking for is to have a good, entertaining, and fun team to watch. And obviously, Toronto is one of the rare team with a very good, talented, skilled player. They cannot go through the first round. But again, that division is not an easy one to go through. I'm guaranteeing right now, Montreal Canadiens in 2-3 years want to go to face to Ottawa, Buffalo, Detroit, and many other teams are going to be strong. It's not going to be easy. Some team never going to go through the first round, second round. And some team have a really good lineup. San Jose Sharks, they have an amazing, great lineup. They never win the Stanley Cup. And can go with fun team. The Buffalo Sabres in 2006, 7, they have an amazing, great lineup. It's hard to win the Stanley Cup. It's not easy.
But coach. So I'm 100% with you. But the San Jose Sharks, they had deep runs, right? They had deep runs. I'm with you, 70% of the way there, right? A lot of teams, a lot of people are comparing them to Tampa. Tampa, Colorado, they had to fail before they win and all that. I get it, but it's how Toronto has failed so far. Not even so they got out of the first round last year. And in all fairness, they should have won against Tampa the year before. I think they were probably the better team the year before that too. And it was like a game 7. It was really a coin flip at that point, to be honest. But so I get it. C'est un peu boiteuse ta comparaison when you're looking at San Jose, because San Jose went to several conference finals. Went to a final.
No, I'm not talking about I was just talking about sometimes you have a great lineup, but you still not win the Stanley Cup. That was more about I was not compared to Toronto with San Jose.
Of course. But how do you? I mean, again, we don't want to get off too much further into this conversation. But how do you measure the success? Is it winning the cup, or is it what San Jose did, and at least they were deep in runs in every single year in playoffs? I mean, a lot of times we look at players and we say, well, you know what? If McDavid doesn't win a Stanley Cup, I don't know, he doesn't put himself in the same stratosphere as some other players that have gone, let's say, into the Hall of Fame. Not saying he's not going to go there. Of course he will, but he just doesn't have. It's like Dan Marino with the Miami Dolphins, and never won, but had probably the best. Yeah.
Joe Thornton is a perfect example, right? Like for
Exactly.
talking about the Sharks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what is the measurement of success? Like, of course, only one team per year can win the cup, and that's if that's what our barometer is, then a lot of teams, 31 teams, are going to be very disappointed with their years, regardless of the stats they accumulate and how far they go in the playoffs on a yearly basis. But if it's to make the playoffs and be consistent every year, be competitive, try to get to, as far as they can every year, like San Jose did, then you got to consider that a success.
Yeah, but again, it's not easy. Like, like at the end of the day, I just showed you yesterday the template Vegas. You should not win the Stanley Cup if you feel like what it would be the perfect template to win the Stanley Cup. Sometimes it's just the time of the year where the players pick it up all together and they go through this. That's how it works about that, and that's they took advantage of Surrey Cap. And I can go the way, but you have to give credit for it. But you have no template, so. My point behind that, I was trying to say, is like whatever they try to build a team, right? And you think you are going to have a really good team, it's not guaranteed you're going to win the Stanley Cup at the end of the day. And so if you can have a team, it's fun to watch, entertaining, and give you the best chance to try to win a Stanley Cup. That's what you try to build as a team. The only thing, and I think if someone said that, I don't know, is Randy said, my only concern for the Toronto Maple Leafs is they get a gap of 3-4 years together, the core, everything like that. Did not understand why Kyle Dubas did not readjust from mistake or what he did not learn the year prior. What they are missing to not go a little bit more deeper. And that's my only concern about that one over there. And that's what
he was missing this.
Oh no!
If there was no salary cap, I guarantee you Dubas would have probably brought a championship to this team, because you can go out there and Toronto has very deep pockets. They could have got whoever they wanted for the third and fourth lines. They could have got out there and got the best goalie on the market through a trade or whatever the case might be, and they would have done it. But to do it with a salary cap, I'm telling you, it's extremely, extremely difficult. So that's why we go back full circle here. I say to put 50% of your stock, of your salary cap into 4 players, you're putting all your chips in the center. And yes, it might work.
But that's not what his plan was.
I think it was. He wanted those 4 players.
Yeah, but he thought the cap was like, he had no reason or no way to know that the cap was going to stay flat that long. And he wasn't going to be able to build more around it, right? And Coach, to your point, like I think,
but that
that's
consistent.
I agree with you. He didn't make those adjustments in the first couple of years, but I think that the deadline moves. And I saw somebody mention earlier that they didn't like Dubas's deadline moves last year. I think his deadline moves were amazing last year, like adding O'Reilly, like adding Achari, like those are the kind of character players that I thought for sure was going to make a big impact, and unfortunately didn't really work.
You're right. He cleared out the cupboard. He went to go get what they needed, and it still wasn't enough, at the end.
It's funny because it was so much better the year before he got Nick Foligno that year. About that one. But one point you bring on the table, Marco, it was good, and I think when he create that kind of the core, whatever you want to call them, Mono Tavares, the COVID changed completely the way where the NHL have to stop the salary cap. If the salary cap was considered to increasing, I think his plan or his template, it would be better at what happening to him in the 2-3 years stuck with no money on the table. That's what make them a little bit more difficult. For that part. And
but in all fairness, Coach, that affected all the teams. It wasn't just Toronto.
No, they signed the player before COVID. They signed Matthews, Tavares, and Marner at $11 million before the COVID happening, and that stuck him because now he cannot increasing. His plan was thinking about, and and 2021 it will be like maybe now already 83 million, and then more and more and more. He gets stuck there for 2 years. That would be the only thing about that.
I guarantee that any other GM that had that quality of players available would have done the same thing, right? It made 100%, like it made sense for them to do that. Now you can, we should stop talking about the Leafs soon, or else we might have to change the logo on the thumbnail of this video. But ultimately, any GM would have done that, I think, but the one thing that you could maybe criticize Dubas is the order in which he did it, right? Like he should have signed Marner and Matthews before he went and signed Tavares, because when he signed Tavares, it set like a new internal bar on the team, and he was kind of almost negotiating against himself, giving Marner, Nylander, and Matthews kind of like an internal number to base their new contracts on. That's the big thing. The big criticism that you hear about how that went down is the sequence in which it happened. But again, like you have the opportunity at that time to sign John Tavares. I don't think there's many people that were against that move or didn't think that was the right move for them to do, right? But so it's just the sequence maybe made it. Well, that's what it cost to get like a John Tavares at that time, right? To prime away from the New York Islanders at that point, right? So, it's not every day that, I wonder if they got the pajamas that Tavares wear when he was 12 years old. Like maybe that's why it cost so much. But
still wearing.
All right, Coach, are we going to move on from the Leafs? I'm starting to get a bit creeped out that we're talking too much about.
All right, the next thing we want to talk about, guys, about the Habs Logan Mailloux. I would like to hear from you guys. Let me know. Tell us a bit more what you think about Logan Mailloux. Situation. We know he got the green lights to play in NHL. He got eligible. What do you think about Logan Mailloux now?
Go ahead, Enortap.
Well, I mean, it's kind of ironic that I think the previous night we were talking about the fact that Gary Bettman had not made a decision to that point about the eligibility of Mailloux, and then the next day it comes out that everything is fine. Look, he's. I would have been extremely shocked if he wasn't approved, because he's followed the protocol exactly to the T. He's done everything the team, the league, and that has been asked of him. He's excelled in his development as well. And considering that, he sat out for a bit of time as well earlier on, I mean, that speaks to him as well. Now, unfortunately, you're going to get people that will always hold him to task for that one incident that happened, when he was 17 years old. And you're not going to change people's minds about that, right? You have to move on, and he's going to have to move on. He can't let that define who he is. If he's changed and he's done his due diligence in whatever programs that he had to undertake, then worry about your own development. When the team calls you up, which, I mean, I doubt he'll be up with the team this year, especially with the jam log of players on defense that we have now, unless he really, really excels at the training camp. I think it'll be probably the year after, if anything. But here he is. You have a great possible defenseman in the making here, and I'm personally glad that he's aboard.
Marko?
Yeah, well said. Good for him, man. I'm just glad that it didn't drag out much further. I think last time we talked about the
Super Chat.
Oh, Rick is here.
Super Chat, Rick Bengal! He did it again, back in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Rick Bengal, directly from Halifax, is in the house tonight. Thanks so much for your super chat. We really appreciate about this one over there. Some hype. Mr. Rick Bengal is in the house. His comment, guys, was about Mayu was Logan May most underrated app prospect for him about that one over there. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Rick. Very generous of you. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm just glad that it's over. I think last time we talked about it, I was a little bit nervous that Gary Bettman was really concerned about the PR element of all this. Based on some of the kind of activity that we've seen around Joel Quenneville and other stuff like that. So evidently there wasn't anything to that concern, so that's good. Really, like I'd love to say that this is the end of that whole chapter for Logan, but I think we all know that it's something that he'll carry with him his entire career and probably his whole life. It's one of those things that you just have to continue, proving yourself every day. Just be a good person. Try to teach other people, the error in your own ways, and see if there's some type of way to make this very, very shitty situation into a positive, and try to maybe teach young people how dangerous and how the internet is forever. The internet lasts forever. It's never going to go away. Maybe we should think about that when we do our shows, guys. But anyways, good for him. I'm really happy about it. I like Enortap said, I doubt that he'll make the lineup this year, but I've always been really excited about him as a prospect. Like, he has a lot of potential. I'm not exactly sure. There's a lot of different kind of takes on him. I probably fall in the middle. I wouldn't say that he's like our best rated prospect, but I certainly think he's, probably the second best defensive prospect we have, or probably third best defensive prospect we have in our pool. So.
Yeah, great comment, both of you, about Logan Mailloux. I don't want to affect talking about what he did, what blah blah. But what I would say to you is, he's with the right team. What you're talking about, but he surround himself with a team where they will take care about him, and they already make him to become a better human being. And you talk about when you have the coaches like Martin Saint-Louis, and then you have Ken Hughes, and the organization Montreal Canadiens are really careful and really about the human being, the players. Not about the players on the ice, but the players as a human person. I think this is the right place for him, and to learning and to become more mature, and he did it. He only played 1 year with the London Knights last year to score 33 goals. He really dominate. The ceiling for him is not there. We don't know yet what kind of player he can become. It would be very interesting what he's going to do the upcoming. He dominated the rookie camp or development camp, whatever you want to call this. And now it will be interesting what he's going to do at the next camp and before he go to the main camp. It's going to be a little bit a jam on the right side. But I think for me, I mentioned in my video this morning, the benefit for Logan Mailloux, I think it will be play in Laval Rocket, play a lot of minutes, go learning, and then from there, consider your development. And then after that, I wouldn't be surprised at some point he can get the call up and to join the Montreal Canadiens, but no rush him or any other prospect to rush them to play in NHL right away. Right. I don't think so to be the right things to them. Let them, a little bit what they did with Jared Czech last year or Nemec with the New Jersey Devils and the Columbus Blue Jackets. They let them play at the American League, and at the end of the year, they come to call up Jared Czech. And now we see he's going to make the team for the upcoming season. So I think Mailloux could be about 1 year, maybe to join the Montreal Canadiens. So good turnover for him, and hopefully it will be the best for him, and hopefully he learned for that. And we wish the best for him. Anything you want to add? If you want to add anything else about Logan Mailloux?
No, I think I'm good.
We hit it all.
Good. During the time, Marco, we have a question for one. What do you think this kid would look like if Vegas did not trade him to Montreal?
So what would he look like if he was still in Vegas' system? I think he would look damn good in a Vegas uniform. I find it hard to imagine a scenario where you would still have Suzuki, Carlson, and Eichel. So even if they wouldn't have traded Suzuki to Montreal for Pacioretty at that time, I suspect that they would have probably moved him. Like if they're, it's clear that McCrimmon and who was the GM before, the guy that built the team there? I always forget his name. There's Brad McCrimmon. It's clear that he wanted like an elite center, and we all know Suzuki is a good like 1B center in the NHL, but he's not Jack Eichel, right? So based on where Vegas felt that they needed to build a team to win a cup, which they ultimately did win a cup, I suspect that they still would have moved him, to be honest, even if it wasn't to Montreal. It looks like they were really looking to center. They wanted that big defenseman, which they got. They wanted that number one elite center, which they got, and it worked. So,
very great comments in the chat. We have a few people knock the door. We have GSM back in the house. Frankie back in the house with Google account. Thanks, everybody. Don't forget, guys, to click on the likes. Leon Renault back, of course, in the house. Let me comment about Mayu. What do you think about him? And then someone want maybe a trade bait for sure for Mayu at some point. Some GSM think Mayu would be better to Hudson. And then someone said Hudson would be better, the best player offensive. About that, we're going to answer to your question, Google, in a few seconds. And a question for Enortap, where does Beck play next year?
Well, I would even take it back a little bit, because here's one guy that, if things fall out the way they should, could find his way up into Montreal's lineup even this year at some point. I would rather him take one more year before he comes up and just work on the development aspect of it. But he's such a smart hockey player that he can adjust easily to any level, and he's a known producer. What I like especially is the fact that last year, even at the juniors, but in the playoffs, he showed an edge to him that I didn't think he had, and that'll go hand in hand with his skills. Sorry,
like by getting suspended twice. I don't know if I.
Well, you know what, but that's the emotion that you want. Now he's got to be smarter in terms of how he channels that emotion, of course. But at least he's not a player that disappears in the playoffs. Like, he's definitely a part of what's going on, and he just has to sort of, that's part of your development process, right? With the proper coaching, etc. So I suspect it'll probably, if you're looking down the middle, you got Suzuki, Doc, Monahan, and Evans. Monahan could be gone at the trade deadline time. Evans, if the right deal comes around, could also be gone at some point, because he'd be a great pickup for a team that needs that depth kind of player that can win faceoffs and has proven that he can play hard in the playoffs as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up late in the year and then sticks with Montreal the rest of the way.
You talk about Beck to surprise to start the season with Montreal?
Not to start the season, no. But at some point during the year.
But he cannot.
But they can't.
He cannot.
No, they can't. Unless it's an emergency call-up, right? Like they did last year.
So he cannot play with Montreal. See if he go back in the OHL. That's where I expect he's going to be. I think he should go back with that. 20 years old, play a solid year, go get, your 75, 80 point, 90 point, develop again better. And we'll see what Peterborough they look like. Maybe he can get traded at the Christmas time and then get a better team to try to win the Memorial Cup. But I think it would be better for him, but more benefit. He has no spot in Montreal right now. We're going to talk about this in the next few minutes. So for me, that's the only thing. At some point, he was thinking to go loan somewhere. But most of the team already start the season and Europe about exhibition games. So I don't see him to go in that direction, at least at this moment. So I think he's going to be in OHL for upcoming season for Owen Beck.
How about Laval? How about at Laval?
He cannot play Laval.
He's still 19 years old.
Oh.
But one thing, though, is we know that Dvorak is not going to be starting the season, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if he has a very, very strong camp maybe they kind of, just to give him a little bit of exposure, maybe they keep him up for, 5 to 10 games or something, depending on how he does, right? Like, that's if for whatever reason, let's say they do want to play Doc at center and they don't play Monahan at center, then maybe you have a case there to need another center to start the year or to play some games. So I wouldn't put that. I wouldn't bet my life on it, but I wouldn't be surprised if he has a very strong camp, that they give him a little taste. They already gave him one game as an emergency call up last year, so maybe if he does really well, they keep him around, for the in October or something at least, and then later on he'll go back down to junior.
Yes, we'll see what happening about that. Sean said maybe Logan Mayo can make the team at the beginning of the season. Hey, coach, do you think Montreal will improve this season? Let's go with Enortap on that one.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. I mean, he showed a lot of promise last year. He really came a long way from what we saw when he was first picked up by the team. I still think there's some gaps in his game that he needs to improve upon, not the least of which is going down too quickly, and also the lack of control of rebounds. Those are two areas that I think he really needs to work on. But I think this year, between him and, we're probably going to get into this later, but between him and Allen, you're probably looking at a close to 50-50 split in terms of the number of games that they'll play. Maybe slightly more for Montreal than Allen. And yeah, I think he can continue to improve. I do see that, but it's something that, as the defense grows stronger and gains experience and develops, you're going to see his numbers also increase, is my guess.
Great. William McLean asked this question. Marco, you're going to try to get that answer. Buffalo Wings and Buffalo Red Wings and Ottawa are usually grouped together on development. What team do you have grouped with? Anaheim, Sharks, Columbus, if they are the ahead or behind them, this team?
Can you leave the question up just so I can?
Yeah, the question is like, when you talk about development, you talk about Buffalo, Detroit, and
I understand the question, but I just want to see the teams that he's putting there.
Or you talk about Anaheim, Sharks, Columbus.
Yeah, so I would put Anaheim slightly ahead of Montreal in terms of their prospect pool. And the quality, like the eliteness of their talent pool, but they're not even like the Sharks. The Sharks they're in a deep hole, right? Like I thank God we're not in the same category as the San Jose Sharks. So I would put them I put them on par. I don't put them that far from Detroit, to be honest. Like, I do think Buffalo is a little bit ahead of their Montreal and their overall development in their program. But I think we've talked about this before. I think I don't love what Yzerman's done over the last couple of seasons. Like, it feels like they're kind of spinning their wheels a little bit. I did like their draft, though. Like, this summer, they had a good draft. But it's going to take a year or two for that to really kick in. So I would put Montreal and Detroit, right there. Columbus, I really like Columbus as well too. Like, so I would put Columbus slightly ahead of or right on par with Montreal. So Columbus, Detroit, and Montreal, kind of right there. But I would put Buffalo ahead of them.
If you want to regroup three teams, I would say to William, it would be Arizona, Anaheim, and Montreal Canadiens. I think they are three teams similar. They build trade together. And Pat Verbeek show up last season, can use the couple of months before that. I think they are the three teams. I think they are similar on the performance and, of course, on the prospect they have about that. So a little bit what they did with Ottawa, Detroit, and the Buffalo Sabres. That would be three teams. I was thinking about that when he asked that question over there. Question like that, GSM said Lane Hudson is going to be more like Tony Crook. So my question to you is, do you think Lane Hudson a better chance to become a Tony Crook or a better chance to become a Quinn Hughes in NHL? Marco?
So I to me, like, I don't see him being the same kind of player as Torrey Krug. Torrey Krug was a pretty hard-nosed player, right? Like, if you remember some of those hits that he delivered when he was with Boston in the playoffs, like, he was short, but he was thick. Like, he's a strong guy. The thing with Lane Hudson is not his height. I remember, like, for those of you who watch, like, we have this conversation, you know, about what height means when it comes to hockey players. The big problem with Lane Hudson is not his height; it's his weight, right? Like, Torrey Krug is a pretty heavy guy. Like,
194.
Yeah, so he's not really getting pushed around out there at all. So, you know, if he can be 3/4 of what Quinn Hughes is, then I think that's a better comparable.
Quinn Hughes is only at 5'10".
Yeah, he's 5'10", and he's definitely slighter of frame.
180.
Yeah. So, you know, but Lane Hudson is what, like 160, something like that, like
158. But
yeah. So, you know, like, so it's physically he's more of a comparable to Quinn Hughes. His style of play is a lot more comparable to Quinn Hughes. You know, like, to me, like, Torrey Krug was a good two-way defenseman and a power play specialist who was really good at one-timer shots, right? Like, but he wasn't a dynamic offensive player, right? Like, he wasn't somebody that, you know, was super agile, like a puck moving guy. Like, he was more of like he had a really good one-timer, so he was a really good asset on the power play, but totally different style of player.
And now that, which one?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think he's closer to a Quinn Hughes than he is Torrey Krug. But I mean, it's hard to categorize it like that. You're right, Marco. He has to put on some more weight. I think that's the key. The height is not the issue. With his style of play, his speed, his hands, his ability to carry the puck, that's going to serve him well. And I think he'll be fine. He just has to put on that muscle weight that's needed, and he'll be his own player.
Guys, no player like Lane Hudson.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
no play. You cannot compare him. Yeah, nobody play like him. No one. Nobody saw that kind of play in the NHL. Everywhere he play, he perform. The kid is unique. The kid's going to be fine in NHL. He's going to be a great year, a great career in NHL. And when he's going to get his 175 pounds, 170, 175 pounds, the way he moved the puck, the way he contribute, he distribute the puck, the transition, is another Kel McCarr in NHL. Now you say, oh, coach, compared to Kel McCarr. The style of play he play, Kel McCarr, he can become a forward at the same time they play 5 versus 5. He can run the puck enough. That's what Lane Hudson does. He can run the puck and he move the puck left and right. And when he go from the blue line, the red line to the goal line, this is the most place is dangerous. So I have no problem with that part there. I cannot say if Mayu or Hudson going to have a better career. But I'm telling you right now, Montreal Canadiens have a unique player in their hands. And if he can develop the way he's supposed to develop, you guys and the fans, you're going to be on your stand up every night watching Hudson every time he touches the puck, like Piquet Subban did for many years in Montreal, or Kovalev, or player like that. That will be the style that Lane Hudson is going to do with Montreal in the next couple of years. We have to move on, guys. Other people knock the door. Roy is in the house. Dan Asham is in the house. Great comment for everybody about Abination, Sean, everything like that. Sakoski, he expects to score 30 goals from Balji. Not sure. Sean said he heard about Kobidak. He's ready to rock and roll. And what about Primo Abination? Could be the end with him. With the Montreal Canadiens, I don't think so. He's going to have a spot with them. Maybe go back to Laval Rocket. If not, another team could reach to get Kaden Primo. But guys, tonight we were supposed to talk about what? The training camp, the spot to fight. We have about 30 minutes to carry on that. We have enough minutes to talk about this. Let's see what we got. If I can get it at some point. We talked about Matthews earlier, so we're going to changing that for sure. About this, we have no time to talk about Alexis Lafreniere. Guys, going to talk a little bit more about him if we have a time at the end of the show. At training camp, fight for the spot. I have a couple of questions about this, and then you tell me what's going on. And the people in the chat, guys, don't hesitate to talk about this. That'd be awesome. We'll donate the Boston College this year. Talk about Greg is Arnold forward to Lane Hudson. Yours will be Trey Hudson tonight. If Vancouver offer can use about that. Here we go, guys. First question of the night, guys. The goalies. Who is going? We have a fight for the spot. The spot is going to be who is going to be the goaltender number 1 for the Montreal Canadiens at the beginning of the season. So we have a fight between both of them. We know Montembeault still the job to Jake Allen during the second half of the season. But we talk a little bit about Montembeault for Enortap. So Enortap is going to tell me what if you are right now a fighter spot, what will be your expectation for the goaltender number 1 for the Montreal Canadiens for the upcoming season 2023-2024? Here we go.
As I mentioned before, Coach, I anticipate it to be shared duties by both goalies. Now, if one of them runs a hot hand, I don't see St. Louis sort of straying from that and keeping him in for a longer spot of time. But I anticipate it being around 40 to 45 games that Montembeault will play, and the rest are Allen's.
I think this could go two ways, Coach. Strategically, if you're Kent Hughes, I don't know if you would do this, right? But if you want to keep Montembeault's next contract down a little bit, one way that you can do that is to control statistics, right? So It's kind of I remember this debate back when the Leafs were coming off Marner's entry-level contract, and Mike Babcock was playing him on the fourth line a lot. And a lot of people used to say, "Oh, they're playing Marner on the fourth line because they don't want him to get too many points so that his next contract is going to be too big or something like that." I don't know if GMs think that way, but that would be an interesting strategy, right? Is to limit his games a little bit so that if they do plan on signing him to extend him for another 2 years, it gives him a little bit less of a bargaining chip when he goes to negotiate his contract. I don't think that will happen, but it's just a thought. If I had to guess this one, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, Marco, I think you're right. Like there are GMs that would do that, but I don't see that happening here.
No,
just because they're trying to build a certain culture, and if you start doing cheesy things like that, it goes against the grain of what you're trying to establish. And what he did with Petrie and trading him away, that speaks volumes to the character.
Yeah. So I don't think that'll happen, but just to kind of add to what Enortap was saying about Montembeault, last time we talked about this, we did an assessment, and if you look at his overall save percentage last year, it doesn't look very good, right? But after a little bit of digging, like it turns out that his expected save, like what's that stat, Coach, again? It's like expected save percentage or
save percentage.
That's what it's called. His expected, the expected save percentage, I think it was like top 5 in the league at certain points of the year. Like, so there's certain metrics that really show that at some point
it was good on the GSVA, so the goal save above.
Yeah. Goal saved above. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a very interesting statistic, and it reinforces the point that I made last week when we were talking, where I was saying at some point Montembeault actually stole games, for Montreal, especially early in the year. So I think the key thing that I would want to see out of the goaltending this year is we saw both the reflex to ride for 4 or 5 games in a row and use Montembeault as kind of like a backup, right? I think we all know that Allen is not effective when he has to play more than 2-3 games in a row. So I think, Coach, you did a poll last show, and you had us kind of like choose what range of games that we expect Montembeault to play. And I think I chose one of the higher ones. So I think it's going to be more like 50 to 55 games that Montembeault is going to play. And then, especially early on, unless DeSmith stays longer in the mix than we think, and then they have to split it 3 ways. But I wouldn't be surprised if Montembeault plays like 50 to 55 games, and they use Allen really as a backup, to be honest. And unless Montembeault goes on a bad run, or unless Montembeault feels like he's sliding a little bit and losing a bit of energy, then you can kind of come back with Jake Allen for 2-3 games in a row. But I don't know if it's going to be 50-50 in our top. I think they're really going to give him a shot to carry the mail, not like Martin Brodeur or Vasilevsky style, where they're going to play 65 games or 70 games. I think those days are over for the most part in the NHL. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's playing like 50 to 55 games.
Yeah, I will be disagree with you. I would said more about the max will be 10 games different between both goaltender. So whatever is the number, I think that will be the maximum, the goaltender. So I'm not like, if he does 50, I don't expect him to go 32. I will be more like 46, 36. There'll be a number about that. If no, both of them are not injury. Now remember, guys, and then Marco, it's rare a team go through the season with 2 only goaltender. Usually have a number 3 pop up in the because of injuries, whatever the circumstance happening. So my only thing I would say is I don't expect Montembeault play 50 games, but I expect Montreal Canadiens want to see him more, to see really what he looked like, to figure out what would be his next contract and what would be his next adventure with the Montreal Canadiens in the future as a backup number 2 or whatever he's going to be with the Montreal Canadiens. So great subject, guys. We have to move on. We have a lot of things to talk about. Now we have another fight for the spot. It's going to be, I just gave you this. We're going to talk a little bit more about defense, but I'm talking right now about Gustav Lindstrom and Justin Barron. Now people say, what Logan Mailloux? We're going to talk about this later. But between both of them is a fight for the spot right defenseman. Why? Because they have Sava Kovacevic. They don't go nowhere. Forget about Whiteman. He's on the wash machine now, working over there now for the restaurant Lafleur for the rest of the winter time. Anyhow, next round, Barron, what do you think will happening about that? What do you feel is going happening between both players for the Montreal Canadiens? They cannot honestly almost keep both of them. I don't think so. I don't see they're going to keep both of them.
Well, I think it's a pretty simple decision just because Barron can go on waivers, right? I think we talked about this last year, Coach. Like, I think we were all impressed with how Barron played when he first came up from Laval. But then I saw his game kind of tail off a little bit towards the end of the season. And then he had an okay World Championship. Like, Canada won gold and he wasn't terrible, but he wasn't, he played a third pair defenseman role there. And I watched several of the games and he was okay. A couple of like Barron-like things, still not physical enough, getting bumped off the puck. Positionally, he was off a little bit as well. I think he would still benefit from not a full year. Like he'll play some games for Montreal this year with injuries and everything. But I would predict that they're going to give every chance possible to Lindstrom to play some games here. He's got 131 games of NHL experience, if I'm not mistaken. 24 years old. Good puck moving defenseman. He's not small either, man. Like, Coach, you like him. He's like 6'2", 190 pounds, I think. So, he's got some good attributes. He's not that creative offensively, but he's played behind 2 very, very good right-hand shots in Detroit, right? Like playing behind Seider and for the most part playing behind Roenick, right? So, he's going to have an opportunity maybe that he hasn't had before, maybe to play in a top 4. I would be surprised. Like, I guess you could play Kovacevic as a number 4, but I think that's a bit of a stretch. So I think, to me, like, I would give Lindstrom the edge on this one.
Enortap?
I think a lot of it will come down to the camp and the preseason. I think they're willing to give both players the opportunity to go out there and show what they can, contribute to the team. Lidstrom has played a little bit longer, so he has more games under his belt. But if you look at his time on the ice, it wasn't much, and that kind of, I think, stunted his growth a little bit. If you're looking at it from a defensive perspective, I think Lidstrom will be your better player. If you want a little bit more offense, I think Barron is your better choice between the two. But I agree with Marco in that it might turn out to be, if both are pretty much equal at pre-camp and preseason as well. Barron's the easy one to put down to Laval because he's waiver exempt. So it might be Lidstrom.
Great point. I don't have to add more. You nail it, both of you. Next question for you guys. Forward. Extra forward, going to talk about more about other players. But you have a choice right now between Jesse Allen and Emil Henneman. They are the two closest players. We know Allen played 37 games last year, or 34 with the Montreal Canadiens. But Henneman scored 7 goals when he joined the Laval Rocket. I really like Emil Henneman. He have a really good camp last year. But you have a player to select or an extra forward between both rookies. Which one you want to go with Mr. Enortap?
I really liked Coach Heineman last year, what he showed, and I mean, this guy's a big player. He plays with an edge to his game. He can score. I like what he brings to the table. Not that I don't like Yolanen, but I mean, Yolanen has had some opportunities. He's come up and he's slightly produced. I don't think he's been awesome. It's not like he turned into an RHP in terms of the success that he had when he did come up. But I would love to see Heineman in my eyes take that position. And Yolanen's not small either, so it's not just about height. But I think it's just he brings a little bit more to the table than Yolanen. So I would go with Heineman.
This is a really, really tough one, Coach. This is really, like, I think I've been on the record saying that Yolonen's gotten ripped off, man. Like, he should have Armia spot. Like, that's really where he should be. They should have a spot in the lineup for him, but Armia's eating up that particular lineup spot. And I don't think that's going to change from now till October 14th or whenever the season starts. So between these two guys, I think absolute dogfight, I think, for this spot in the lineup. Based on kind of, if you're going to be playing, I think it really comes down to special teams, right? Because whoever is going to be playing on your fourth line, they have to also play a specialty role on the team, right? Like, they need a role on the team. They're not just going to play on the fourth line and just play like 7 minutes or whatever, right? Like, usually that's how saying, like, everybody needs a role on the team. So I would say between these two players, who is either going to play second unit power play or kill penalties? I know Yolonen has a little bit of experience on the power play. Like, he's kind of known for having that one-timer. He had some looks on the second unit power play for Montreal towards the end of the season last year. And I think he probably scored like a couple goals with that one-timer, especially when Caulfield was gone. So I don't know about Heineman if he kills penalties or if he's a smart player that way. I know that he has quick hands. He's strong on the puck. Yeah. So, I remember people comparing him to like a poor man's Lehkonen. So if that's the case, I did see some of his games in Laval, but I didn't really see him in that kind of role. So I can't predict 100% what's going to happen, but I think once we see how these players are used in training camp, we'll have a very good idea of kind of what St. Louis has in mind. And they're going to have auditions. And I think the key is going to be which one of them performs best in those specialty team roles that they're assigned.
Great comments, both of you guys. Great comments in that chat too. Love what you talk about. And let's move on for my next question, guys. Is who will play with Zuski and Caulfield for the beginning of the season?
Now, is this our opinion, Coach, or what we think will happen?
What you feel about that fight for the spot? So the fight for the spot, who is going to win the spot to play on the right side of Caulfield and Suzuki?
All right. So we're going with what we think will happen, not what we wish would happen. Okay. So what I think will happen is it's probably going to be either Anderson or Monahan that will play or start up there. And I suspect that probably, I know, Coach, you like Monahan with Doc to take faceoffs, and I get the rationale there. But I think that, they're going to want to have Monahan up there. I hope, my hope is that they would try Slavkovsky up there for a little bit. I think that's a little too much to give him to start off. Like, hopefully by the end of the season, Slavkovsky is playing up there. But my guess is I don't think they're going to want to put too much strain on Monahan taking faceoffs. So my guess would be that there will be Monahan up there.
Gary, can we go with RHP?
He played well up there. He did really well. It wasn't with Caulfield, though.
No.
Caulfield was injured when RHP had his really good run with Suzuki, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And Enortap?
Well, if you believe Doc, and I heard on one of the shows that he was interviewed, he's looking forward. He said, and again, I don't know if it's a pretense or a prelude, but he said, I'm looking forward to playing with Suzuki and Caulfield this year. That's him saying that. So I don't know if he has any insider information and has kind of been told that. And if that's the case, then he goes on the wing, and maybe somebody like you got Monahan, Evans, you got still Newhook could be also tried at center, although I was hearing that they want to play him on the wing to start off with, at least, especially because his face-off winning percentage is not very good. So I don't know. I think they might start with Doc on the wing, on the first line, and see how that works out. Is it the best for him? Probably not. Especially if you want to develop a centerman, I think that's you're better served putting him in those situations rather than and maybe even sacrificing some points and developing properly as a centerman. But it looks like it might be with Suzuki and Caulfield.
Man, I would be so disappointed if they do that.
I will go
I understand that.
With Josh Anderson.
Yeah, it's possible. They need a big body. For sure.
I feel that way. I would give you my second line, but I have more questions coming, so I'm not going to tell you what's going on for my second line about that. Nicolas, go with Anderson too. Because he is not playing in the top 6 matches of the game, he played the team. He will throw him like a New York Rangers at Ren Lafreniere about that. Did he ring Alex Lafreniere? I don't think so. I think he's pretty good, Alex Lafreniere. They need a winger with size and main disposition to protect 12 if 22. Roy, that's the reason I would go with Anderson on that one. But my next question, guys, who will play center for the Montreal Canadiens for the upcoming season? We have Monahan, Doc, Newhook, Evans, and Suzuki for the upcoming season. So we have approximately 6 centers that we have. So what would be your center for the upcoming season for the Montreal Canadiens? Let's go with Enortap.
Okay, let's go Suzuki. I'll go with what I would like to see, and that would be Doc number 2, Monahan number 3, and Evans number 4.
So we're not including Dvorak because you mean to start the season, right? Because Dvorak's not going to be there.
Yeah, to start. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. So I'm going to say Suzuki, Doc, Beck. To just
now, are you now? This is going to be for the fight for the spot for the beginning season. So you expect Beck to be a part of the Montreal Canadiens at the beginning season?
Yeah, like I said, that's what I said earlier, right? is I
So
think
if you
they'll
send
keep him
Beck,
around.
you have to send RHP and Laval Rocket.
Oh, I don't like that.
Why RHB?
Because you have to send Sakaski. You have to send a waiver exam forward, and you don't have a lot.
I'd have to.
Oh, I see.
Couldn't you keep? So is that keeping 8D or 7D?
That's 7.
I think it's
Can you put-
14. I think it's going to be 14 with Beck at that moment, because you have extra player. You have Sakaski, RHP, Peseta, and I missed one. I think yes, all three of them. Three of them are 13. So Beck is become 14. So you have one of them.
Okay, so case then I would
I
do.
know it's a bad idea,
I would do-
Marco. I just said, you know what I mean? Like it's okay with the way you said that.
But
Yeah.
again, like we know that there's always injuries too, right? So, so I'll say like if there's injuries, like if they have an opportunity to keep Beck, I think they would like to give him some games to start the year. I don't think he's going to stay the whole year. If that can't happen, then I think they'll give Newhook a shot at the third line center for now until Dvorak comes back or something like that, and then we know Evans is going to play fourth line center. If they don't want to play Newhook at center, then you have to move Evans to third line center, which I think is a bit of a reach, but that could happen. And then you have to come up with a solution for your fourth line center.
I would go with Zuski, Doc, and Dvorak when he is there, right? If he's not there,
okay. Now you can use
No,
can use Dvorak.
That's
You weren't
different.
allowed to use Dvorak.
What?
Yeah. We
Can't use Dvorak.
We didn't use him because of the
no,
injury.
but the question: who would play center? So my point
No,
to you
you
is
just
who's
said
going to
here.
play center. I'm
Who's gonna
telling
be
you right now,
fighting
it's
for
going to
spot?
be
said
Zuski,
who was
Doc.
gonna be fighting
I'm
for
not
spot.
finished yet. Let me finish saying what I'm talking about. Say Zuski, Doc, Dvorak, and then Jake Evans. So it would be my regular 4 centers during the season. Now, when Dvorak is out because he's not there, right? You have no choice. You have to put right there Newhook. At that moment, you don't have any other centers you can add there over there.
Monahan.
So that would be my center over there at the beginning of the season about that one over there. So it would be
Why can't
Suzuki,
you put
Doc,
Monahan?
Newhook, and Jake Evans.
I don't think they're going to play Monahan at center you don't sign Monahan for this deal if you're going to play him on the third line. He's going to want to play top 6 minutes. That's probably part of the deal for him to showcase himself. I don't think that would go over super well.
If Evans be with the app at the start of the season, he is expendable. I think he will be there. At least Montreal make a change about not trade him, but they get another player outside of the organization as a center. But at this moment, they don't have many center. So, well, they have a coach. I think so. I think Montreal is not going to use as a center with the Montreal Canadiens because they want to show him and they want to maybe to give him more opportunities to have a good asset and return for trade deadline. So that's the reason I don't see him as the third center for the Montreal Canadiens for the upcoming. So that answer to you, Roy, about him over there. Who Monahan make a better winger? I think so, Ron. I think Monahan will be a better winger. And that's, guys, the reason I said Newhook as the third center, because my question to you guys, who will play on the top 6? So what I want to explain to you is this part. You have Doc, Zuski, and Caulfield. That's 3 players over there. Now, Josh Anderson is going to be at the top 6. That's number 4 over there. We expect Sean Monahan to be at the top 6. That's number 5. Now, you still have missing one piece of the puzzle. Newhook, Sakaski, RHP, Gallagher, any other forward that could be on that spot over there. Who do you think the Montreal Canadiens are going to open that spot number 6 for that forward on the second line? That's what I said earlier. I said Anderson, Caulfield, Zuski together, and then now you have to figure out with Doc and Monahan together and who is going to be the winger with them. this is a question about that. Marco, who you put on the top 6 for the beginning of the season?
So the lines that I've been playing on my NHL PlayStation, NHL 23, and I really like this lineup. So I have Suzuki, Caulfield, and Monahan on the top line, and I've got Doc, Anderson, and Slavkovsky on my second line. Really good size on that second line. Veteran, savvy Monahan on the first line can take faceoffs. You can play your Suzuki line against other top lines because you have Monahan that can take faceoffs. He's good defensively. So I like that matchup because St. Louis, so I get that Doc isn't great on faceoffs, but again, this is another developing year. We want to see him in those situations and give him the opportunity to fail and to learn, right? So I really like Doc with Anderson and Slavkovsky. I think they would be a lot to handle on the ice. 3 big bodies that can skate. I think they would complete each other really well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. I actually had Slavkovsky, Doc, and Anderson as well as the second line. And with Monahan possibly, well, not possibly, he would be on the first line as well. The problem is you're going to have to. It's easy on paper to sort of guesstimate in terms of these lineups, and I agree that second line would be very hard to play against. But you're going to also have to see the chemistry that these players have with each other, and so like Slavkovsky, you play him at second line on the wing. If he works out well, you leave him there. Otherwise, you might have to try a new hook there. Like wherever you get the best chemistry, you go with. But I mean, I can't argue with those two lines that you mentioned, Marco. I think that they'd be very suitable.
And Slavkovsky, by the way, if you remember last year, had really good chemistry. Out of all the players that he played with, I think he had probably the best chemistry with Anderson, which is another reason why I put him there. I think Anderson was probably on the ice for most of the goals and points that Slavkovsky scored last year, which weren't that many. But they did have good chemistry. And, I think Doc would complete them very well.
Yeah.
For some reason, Frankie said this for 3 times in the chat so far. He said Anderson fit nowhere, bad attitude. What is coming from for his bad attitude, Frankie? I don't want to put him on the spot, Frankie, but I did not hear, or I don't know, something I'm missing here. But what is his bad attitude for Josh Anderson? What? Maybe I would like Frankie to give us a bit more information, but. Enortap and Marko maybe no more, but I don't hear
maybe that. Maybe he's referring more to inconsistency rather than bad attitude.
Yeah, I in everything that I've seen, Anderson, was very receptive to working with Martin St. Louis last year. Like they were really trying to get him to expand his game and play a little less north-south and play like a power horse, like with blinders on, where he just skates in one lane of the ice. And so I don't know, like like they put an assistant captain letter on his jersey at points last year. So I think he's well respected in the locker room, and I can see like the only thing with Josh Anderson is in his character is that sometimes he gets a little too frustrated and lets his emotions kind of get the best of him a little bit. And he'll take like penalties and stuff like that. So and sometimes when he gets frustrated and he's maybe not playing as well as he likes, he can kind of get off the rails a little bit. So I don't know if that's what he means by attitude.
I don't know. That's what the reason. That's I said. I don't want to put him on the spot. Like but I just want to know more about that. I would like to if he can share, so we can have a conversation. Like I said, it's not like I'm against him at all. Which prospect will stand out, guys, for one on offense forward and one as a defense you expect at the training camp? Mayo, Rebecca, Um, any player you're going to send up, you expect, and then for the forward, Joshua Roy, Owen Beck, Sean Farrell, Henneman, I consider him as a prospect for the Montreal Canadiens. So what you expect for that one?
So you wouldn't consider Slavkovsky a prospect? He's a
I'm
roster
sorry.
player now. You wouldn't consider Slavkovsky a prospect?
Because he's been there with the Montreal Canadiens, so he's not, play 39 games. He's not like a rookie anymore. So, but I'm more like a player never play a game with NHL with the Montreal Canadiens. Like one game I understand, but a regular player last season.
Yeah, I know the popular answer here is going to be Roy, and I really hope so. He's a little bit comme il est un peu la carte cachée. Like Joshua Roy is kind of the one ace in the hole, right? Like we've been talking about how we lack elite talent in Montreal and in the prospect pool. And it's not to say that Joshua. I'm not trying to set it up that he's going to be an elite player in the NHL, but if you go by what he was able to do in the World Juniors, he knows how to play with elite players, and he looks like he can be a really smart player, and he looks like he's really learned the game. It's really just his skating, that really needs to improve. So I know that's the popular answer, but based on the trajectory that I see and based on their need, like I said, I suspect that Beck will get if there's an opportunity like that they can make it work. I think they'd like to see Beck a little bit longer in the preseason and maybe even at the beginning of the season. On defense, I don't think there's any question that Mayu is right now. The trajectory is that he had a really dominant, like you said, coach, a really dominant kind of development camp. So I think hopefully he comes to camp with a lot less pressure on his shoulders, all that stuff. Hopefully he feels like he's behind him. He's able to come in with kind of a clear head and just focus on hockey. So that's who I think will probably stand out in terms of what we define as a prospect.
Right.
Enortap.
Yeah. Let's start on defense. I mean, two guys come to mind for me, and that's both. Again, whether they make the team or not, I don't think that's what we're getting at here. It's just who will stand out. So I would say it's between Mailloux and Hudson, and for totally different reasons, right? I think Mailloux will sort of bring that edge that Jack-Eye brought, and then some, because he can contribute offensively as well. He's got the size. He plays a tough game. Hudson will bring that uniqueness to the game that Montreal is really seeking. And he's going to really raise a lot of eyebrows, I think. Offensively, I'm going to, yeah, exactly. Offensively, I'm going to go back to Heineman. I think he's going to be, he's going to really attract a lot of attention, and he's going to fit with any position that you put him in. I think this guy is the real deal and will service Montreal very well over the years. And right behind him, I'd probably say Raw as well. I think Beck, they're going to take their time. We already kind of know what to expect from Beck. And they know that he's got a spot here because I think Evans' days are numbered in Montreal. So that spot is.
Then wouldn't they want to give him a taste? Then wouldn't they want him if they know that his trajectory and they want to invest in him more? Wouldn't they want to give him some more games to give him that exposure?
Yeah, you're saying right at the beginning of the year though, because we run into that same issue you were talking about before, where he can't come up later on in the year. Because otherwise, I'd say. Yeah. If they had to make a spot for him, they'd look for a trade for Evans at some point.
I'm not saying he's going to make the team, right? But the question was, which prospects are going to stand out?
Stand out, and, I would agree. I would agree. Beck,
well, in training camp and maybe a little bit of preseason and all that. I think Beck. I don't know. It's hard to consider Heineman a rookie. Like, I know he's an NHL rookie, but the guy's like 23, right?
No, 21.
He's only 21. I thought he was like a bit older.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me too. At some point, it's because he got traded 3 times.
Yeah, maybe that's why.
He feel like he's in the league for many years, but he can trade only 3 times. I want to give you his birthday of Heineman.
Yeah. He's 21. He's 21.
Yeah, I know he's 21. I just want to see if his birthday is when he turned 22. I think it's October.
I think he's late. He might be November, December.
November 16.
Yeah.
So he's going to play on this 22 years old. Yeah. So that's a good point about this. What about me? I will go with, for me, the one stand out where you need to have a good camp is Logan Mailloux for my defenseman. And one player nobody talk about, and I know you're going to laugh at me, or you can laugh. It's not a big deal. I know he's going to start with the Laval Rocket. But Sean Farrell is my answer on that one with there.
Yeah. I have my doubts about that kid.
As a prospect for the Montreal Canadiens in the future. But I don't expect to start with I don't expect him to start with the Montreal Canadiens. But he could have a really good camp for the Montreal Canadiens. For sure. About that one there. Look like we lost the boys are gone. Welcome back, Marko. Up here. So when I said Sean Farrell, you guys, you hear my answer, Sean Farrell, so I click you out before I said that. Just kidding. Will Martin Saint-Louis have its front side? When I said that, do you expect him to be a little bit more intense, demanding more, to be more tough, not a Tortorella style, but a little bit more tough on the ice at the practice and overall with the team? Talk about learning last season. And do you see it's fun, Martin Saint-Louis, or he's going to be the same way like he was in the last 2-3 years, and it's all about one day at a time, process, everything like that? Or you see the same Martin Saint-Louis not? Marko?
I think for sure it's going to be a different St. Louis. It's got to be. I think we talked about this before, right? Like, the beauty of the overall situation in Montreal is that from the other than Gorton, who is an experienced NHL executive, you've got Hughes, you've got St. Louis, and you've got even his assistant coaches that are pretty new. And then you have all these young players, right? So everybody's kind of growing together, so to me, I think Hughes is the one that set the tone for what the next season is going to be. And he was pretty clear that he's expecting another level of accountability when it comes to the team. So a GM does not make a statement like that publicly without having, especially based on how closely we know that whole management team and coaching staff is together. They seem very collaborative and they all seem on the same page. So I definitely expect St. Louis to bring a little bit more accountability. We started to see that a little bit towards the end. Like, you remember at the beginning of the season, guys, like, we were having a lot of fun watching 7-5, 5-3 kind of games. And, everybody was, really liking how many goals Caulfield was scoring. But the hockey nerds within us were like, ooh, man, like, if this year is about progressing, like, this is not how you play winning hockey in the long run, right? So I think if you remember the end of year conference from Hughes, he mentioned it very specifically, right? There was a point in the year where we sat down with Marty and we're like, and we all agreed that we needed to kind of like start paying a little bit more attention on the other side of the ice. And you could see that there was it wasn't perfect by any means, but there was a little bit more emphasis. Second thing and last thing is specialty teams. St. Louis didn't spend he said it very openly. I didn't have a lot of time to work on power play. There's so much work to do on 5-on-5 that I almost didn't spend any time working on the power play. So I suspect that there'll be hopefully some adjustments and some improvement there. Montreal's power play has been absolute garbage for the last 5 years. So that would
26
be really
year.
nice. Yeah. Well, the last good power play that we had, I think, was with probably like, remember we had the number one power play when I think it was like Kostitsyn, Plekanec, Kovalev. I think Sheldon Surrey was probably still on the like. That was a really good power play when we had
Markov.
Sheldon Surrey. And yeah, Markov
Yeah.
especially. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely time. We don't need to be the best, but if we could be like mid, that would be definitely better.
Enortap. I'm going to try to fix my internet, so I'll be back. But Enortap, you can answer.
Okay. Yeah, well, to answer the question, will St. Louis have a different side? I'm going to say hopefully not, because if there's one thing that he's preached ever since he got the job in Montreal was transparency, and he's always made um, his thoughts known. I think a lot of the players have expressed liking playing with him and are learning under him, and there's a reason for that. He listens to the players during practice. Like he'll give attention to each and every one of the players to a different degree and give him a different responsibility each time. We saw some games last year, as you were alluding to, Marco, where we thought, what's he doing? Why is he putting his best players out there? And we're trying to finish lower in the standings, and he's trying to tie this game up. Like, let's lose it here, and that's not the way you develop a team. And he said that from the beginning. He's going to play till the final whistle sounds. And I sincerely doubt he strays away from that game plan. I think he is exactly what you see. Now, will he? I mean, what we forget in the equation here is that he's also a rookie himself. And so there's areas in his coaching, and he's acknowledged it as well, which is a positive thing to see, that he needs to improve upon himself. So if we see some changes, it'll be in those areas in which he's worked upon himself and wants to implement in the game. But I sure hope we don't see a different side to him.
Yeah,
Well, I don't think
people. Go ahead.
So just to be clear on our top, like I'm not saying we want him to be a tyrant. Like we want to like
No.
When you hear players talk about why they love playing for him, is because they can recognize how brilliantly he thinks the game. Right, he brings players different types of feedback and ideas to improve their game personally, like on their skill set. And I don't think that's going to change, right? Like I think that's just the way that he is, and he thinks the game in such a advanced way that players, just appreciate that kind of feedback, right? But what I'm talking
and he treats
about
him equally.
more, yeah. Well, I don't think you treat people equally in a hockey team, right? Like I think you treat people fairly.
From that, what I mean from that is like when he sat down Drouin because he missed the team practice. I mean, he would have done that whether it was Drouin, Pezzetta, or anybody else. You're part of this team. Yeah. You're going to abide by these rules that we sort of established here. It's not being a tyrant. Yeah. It's just being fair and equal to everybody.
Yeah. And so what I mean, though, is so you can still think of like, and you're a teacher, right, Enortap? So, and coach, you've led people your whole career, right? So in like you still have to bring value to the relationship. Like being a coach is all about selling, right? Like you have to sell your ideas, and you have to bring, especially in today's world where players are almost like their own little mini corporation. Like they have their agent, their entourage. You have to be able to show them that you're providing value to them by the information that you're giving them, right? So I think that's the biggest strength that St. Louis has. He's a Hall of Fame player that's won a Hart Trophy, that's won scoring titles. It's pretty rare that you have that kind of insight from a coach. So I think that's a given. He's going to continue to do that. But what he needs to do is to bring the system, like the team system elements, more discipline and more structure and way more accountability to those things. He can still continue to talk to Anderson, talk to Gallagher about how they can kind of improve and expand their game. Don't limit yourself on what you think you are as a player, you can be more than just an F3, or the examples that we heard him say like that with Gallagher last year, right? So he can continue to do that. Still, the players will still think that he's very valuable and be very motivated and feel they're getting a lot from him. But he needs to keep that, but at the same time, add way more accountability to play on the right side of the puck, to play the right way. So I think that's kind of what I want to see, right? Is more accountability for the team game while continuing to help them improve individually. That's the balance that he needs to do.
Yeah, all great comment about this. I was just for me is to TOI more, less places key, less minute, and sharing more the four line to play more as a four line rotation, to sharing your TOI more, and then be sure the third line, four line play enough a minute, and not only focusing the winning, but only creating that kind of the rotation from top line to the four line, and then improving your special team on PK and power play, where he really did not focus too much on those areas in the first 2 years with the Montreal Canadiens. He was really increasing more on the even strength, everything like that. So make more time on the special team for the upcoming season. That'll be what I'm looking for from Martin Saint-Louis. We'll go through, guys, all the subject we want to talk about the Montreal Canadiens tonight. We talk about the fight to the spot. We see interesting. More close we get to the season, going to have more opportunity to talk about the training camp, the rookie camp. Guys, they start in the next less 1 month now. If you think about I think they out in Buffalo September 16 was 18, so almost 3 weeks now. We're going to see all the players back, the young prospect with the Montreal Canadiens. So was really a great conversation. We got a lot of conversation that shot. We got at some point many people reaction about Josh Anderson. Fact, he's injury prone. He do very low lethargy. That said, to me, is unhappy. Two group inside the club now, and some like Bergevin more. That's St. Louis, Munson, Army, etc. Why use one? Absolutely trade him if he's not good. Age not a real reason. I'm not sure about that. Training camp with Whip and Megaphone. I think would be interesting. Joe Manella. Can Martin Saint-Louis have some kind of Tortorella inside of him? We don't know about that. Welcome back, Joe. Thanks to be with us. I don't know if you want to comment about Frankie comments before we move on to Frenchy Quiz. Just fact is injured prone, is due very low long lethargy. That said, to me, is unhappy.
I don't think it's unhappiness. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, so I think he's played through like most. I think most Habs players played through too many injuries last year. To be honest, like we talked about Monahan and Gallagher, how that was a complete disaster last year. I think Anderson played with injuries last year. I think it's a little bit kind of what I said earlier. Like sometimes his emotions kind of get the better of him in situations. Like some people are critical that he doesn't fight as much as they would like him to. I personally don't really want to see Anderson fighting that much. Was that you? Yeah. Okay. So I don't really want him fighting that much. Like maybe once or twice a year, I think is plenty just to keep people honest. I don't think you want him fighting more than that. He did break his hand in a fight. I believe, was it last year or the year before that? He broke his hand in a fight against Calgary.
Well, he also
the year before that
he injured his shoulder. He also injured his shoulder in a fight as well.
Yeah, so I don't really want him doing
back. But...
Yeah,
no, but by that, Marco, I mean if you put him on that first line with Caulfield and Suzuki, I think at some point, if you see anybody taking any sort of advantage against those two players, you have to step in and send a message. I'm not saying he has to fight every night, but he can't just sit around and let those guys be pushed around. If he's going to be on that first line, he's there for a reason. He's got speed. Yes, he's got good hands to score, but also he can stand up in case somebody takes liberties at your two best players. Yeah,
like I think team, like I very much believe in team toughness, right? Like, if you have if a team does have kind of like an Austin Watson kind of goon guy or whatever that's doing crazy shit like that, then I just don't think there's room for having a player that's kind of like their only role. But I agree, like he's a big boy and he can certainly get in people's faces. But I believe in team toughness. I think a swarm mentality. Like if you pick on one guy, then you have the whole team in your face. I like that. I think that's kind of the way that you deal with stuff like that. And I think that's one reason people were really upset at Petrie. Remember when Montembeault got rung in the head by someone and Petrie just stayed by and didn't do anything? Like those are the kind of things you don't want to see, so yeah, for sure. If somebody clocks Caulfield, shoulders, elbows him in the face, then of course you want Anderson in that guy's grill, but I would expect that. I'd expect Monahan would do the same thing. I expect that Suzuki would do the same thing. Like, it's team toughness, right? So just because a guy is big doesn't mean that he has to necessarily always play the same role, right? Like especially the way that Saint Louis thinks. He wants Anderson to expand his horizons and not just be a one-dimensional player that goes up and down the ice. He wants him to kind of think differently, right? So it's fine. Like I hope that they don't play Anderson on the top. I don't think he's the right guy. It's possible, but man, I hope that's not the case. He just doesn't have the hockey IQ to play with those guys.
The time you're talking about, I was looking around everything on that. What you said, he's a prone injury prone, whatever you want to call him. He was the third player with the most game played with the Montreal Canadiens last season.
Yeah,
only Kovacevic and just keep play more game.
Okay.
Which player for the Montreal Canadiens last
much,
season have the most goal and even string?
I can guess.
Yeah.
Josh
Anderson.
Yeah.
So,
what you wanted to trade in the beginning of the show, Coach, you were saying that this 2 weeks in a row now that you say that they should trade Josh Anderson.
Well, I don't say don't trade him. I'm not against him. I'm not like
you don't like him. You don't like him. No. I know it's not personal, but like it's a couple weeks in a row now that you mentioned Josh Anderson.
The point behind that for Josh Anderson to get trade, so you take that money and you add that money with the money they have, and you get now a player can score a top 6 players where we need a player can get 90 points to 100 points. That's the kind of players. I think the one you can get is him. But
you have to entertain those things.
I understand too. Let's move on, guys, for the rest of the night. The Frenchy Quiz, we are back there for one more time. And then we'll go to finish the show on that way. Let me pick up my stuff here. Last night, Enortap King Gamer Roy won the first time. Roy yesterday, Enortap take the lead completely now with 2013 will be interesting. I'm going to not easy question tonight. It's that you have to think. You have to think. That's the only thing I can give you as a tip tonight. Usually you don't think, you just go. Now we have better chance to win tonight in Enortap because Luc Lafortune is not in the house yet. So I feel like Enortap will be an easy night for you right now without that part over there. C'était mon arrivée, Nicolas, en Thaïlande. Here we go. Question number 1. Which player below did not do 50 goals at 5-5 in the last 2 seasons? We just talked about Josh Anderson, 5-5. That's maybe the question I have in my mind. Anyhow, which player on that list, guy, did not score 50 goals a plus in the last 2 seasons, even strength? 5-5. Jeff Skinner, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. I spelled bad Draisaitl. I apologize. Austin Matthews, the new rich man in NHL, and then David Pastrnak. I forget talking about this, guys. The NHL and the NHLPA announced an international competition in 2025, and the World Cup is back with Olympic in 2026 and all the way by that. We'll talk about this next time. Anyhow, well, some people don't wait. Nicolas go with A. Ça passe très vite, mon Nicolas. Bien d'accord avec toi. On a Ron with King with B, Nicolas with A, Steve G with B, William with D, Claude Richard with A. A lot of people answer quickly right now. They don't want to wait. Frank, out question, Frankie. It's not an easy one, that one. I agree with you. You have to think it twice. Luc Lafortune is in the house, Mr. Enortap.
There you
He's
go.
quiet. He decided not to talk tonight. He's just listening. You. He go with E with David Pasnak. Gary Coney go with C. Thanks so much. I appreciate a lot, Gary. And then we'll see what we got for the rest of the people. Joe Manella with A. GSM with A. Thanks so much. Don't forget to click on the like. That'd be awesome. We appreciate a lot. We'll see. We have other question. Andy go with C. And Frankie go with A. Mr. Enortap, the winner of the contest for the many weeks, we ask you this first answer of the night. Bill, backing out the Gros Bill. I call him the Gros Bill. I love to call him the Gros Bill. Back in the house. Thanks so much. RJ go with D. Randy go with D. And Enortap, I will all the answer from Coach. Yes, I agree with you. I give him all the questions.
I send it to him.
Will he go with the muffin man? Mr. Enortap.
It's not McDavid and Draisaitl. I don't think it's that direction. Matthews would be too easy given what we did today. I'm going to go with Skinner, A.
Skinner with A. Mr. Marko, do you follow your co-host with you?
No, I don't think so. From what I remember, Draisaitl scores a lot of power play goals, like a lot of power play goals. I'd say it's between C and E, but I think I'm going to go with my gut and go with Draisaitl.
Here we go. Mr. Marko, go with Draisaitl. I'll go to your answer right here. If you got it, would be good. Mr. Enortap. Oh my God! Your second choice of the night.
Pasternak.
Marko was right. With Leon Draisaitl, we have Gary Cournoyer, Andy Koivula, Gros Bill, and now we have Marco Larrabee take the lead 1-0. Right, we go with A. Not good enough on that one over there. Congratulations for all four score the first goal of the night. All right, on this one, guys, it's only for the player active. From the list below only, which player has the most shot on the goal, shot on the net? Steven Stamkos, Phil Kessel, Patrick Kane, Eric Stahl, and Jeff Carter. Not easy question, this one also. They are all active. Maybe they have no contract yet, but they are active players about that one over there. So we'll see what happens.
Is this their career, Coach, or just last year?
Sorry again?
Is this for their career?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Will he go with B? Run with D. Joe Manella go with A. Whoa, we have Nicolas go with C. Claude Richard go with E. Steve go with B. GS and go with E. We have I'm not even going to trick Randy. Leo go with A. Thanks so much, Leo, to join us tonight. Frankie go with D. Eric Stahl. RJ with C. Luc Lafortune with E. Gary Cournoyer with E. And the only time we wait for other answer, guys, I would like to hear from you. We're going to start with Marko, the winner of the last question. It's like a golf, right? If you win the hole, you drive the first of the next hole. So, Gros Bill with A and Andy Koivula, we go with B. Mr. Marko, Randy go with B.
Okay. Yeah, this is a tough one. So obviously you kind of you have a bias towards the snipers, like the shooters. So you got Stamkos, Kessel, but I think Carter's right there, and Carter's got a couple more years under his belt, I think, or it's close to Kessel. So I don't know. I'm going to say this is kind of like a shot in the dark here, but I'll go Jeff Carter, E.
Jeff Carter, E, like Gary Cournoyer and Luc Lafortune. Monsieur Enortap, can you tie the game or can you score one goal?
I think I'm going to go with Stamkos, A.
A with 7 Stamkos. Here we go. Let's see what happened here. Oh my God! Monsieur Enortap, your second option?
I had no second option. I was banking on that one. I would probably go Eric Stahl.
Not good enough. It's Patrick Kane had the most shot on the net. And with that, guys, all the people have a good answer the first time. They are not good answer the second time. And Nicolas de Gauby-Bonneau and RJ tied the game with Marco Larrabee, Bill, and Andy, and Gary Cournoyer. Are now 6 players take the lead 1-0 after 1 and 2 after 2 questions. Not easy. That one, it was a little bit difficult. And I know a lot of people said, no, Patrick Kane does not shoot a lot of puck. He's more like pass the puck. But tricky about coach again. He did it again. Yes. We'll see what happened. Last question tonight. Last question of the
very
night.
Very tricky tonight.
Which player has the most Game 7 assist playoff career? Doug Gilmour,
Wow.
Justin Williams, Jaromir Jagr, David Krejcik, and Valery Filppula. Sorry about that.
Wow.
Filppula from Detroit.
Filppula, yeah. Wow. One of these things is not like the other. Remember that Sesame Street song, Enortap?
Yeah, exactly.
Valtteri. Nicolas, go with C. Thanks so much, Nicolas. With Jagr. Which player has the most assists during game number 7 during the playoff career, right? Is it Gilmour, William, Jagr, Krejcik, or Filppula?
Oh, man.
That's a hard one.
He did exactly, Frankie, like he just did, Nicolas. RJ, go with Williams. Thanks so much. And we have Claude Richard with D, Luc Lafortune with B. Thanks so much. Luc Lafortune, can he score a goal tonight? Luc Lafortune, we'll see what's happening to him. Willie with A, GSM with B, Ron with B, Dan with E, welcome back. Leon Renault with E, Joe Manella with C, and Bill with A. Thanks so much. About that one, we'll see we have other people. We're missing Gary Cournoyer. Aucune idée, but E for Frankie. We are missing Gary Cournoyer, Andy Quivula, Bill, I got you, and then Marco, Nicolas, I got you, RJ. So Gary go with A, thanks so much. Andy go with B, about that one over there. Because Enortap did not score, we have to go back with Marco. If everybody tied the hole at the golf, you start again the next hole. So you are the next one, Mr. Marco, again.
I have to get to know these golf rules. I live in front of a golf course now, so that makes sense. So we know that Justin Williams is Mr. Game 7, right? Like that's kind of what he's famous for. So it can't be him. That would be too obvious. But maybe it's a double fake. Is coach like doing a double fake? I don't know.
One of those exacts.
Yeah. So I don't know, like something's telling me Doug Gilmour. I'm trying to, like, he played in a lot of Game 7s. Jagr probably played a lot though too. Yeah.
You don't go with foot. You don't go with Phil.
No, I'm not going to go with. going to go with Coca-Cola. No, it's probably who knows. It might be Coca-Cola. I'm going to.
I left that one for Luke.
Yeah, no, I'm going to go with A. Doug Gilmour.
Doug Gilmour for Marko. Mr. Enortap.
Yeah, I have it narrowed down to either C or D. I'm looking at longevity, a possibility of reaching Game 7s. I'm going to go with Krejci.
Mr. Enortap, go with Krejci about that one over there. We have Mr. Enortap. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players played that question. If they are right, they win the contest tonight. And if Mr. Enortap is right and everybody is wrong, he could tie the game and win again tonight.
Oh my God!
Mr. Enortap, is it for your second option of the night? No, he did it! He's back! He win! He tied the game! And we have 8 contesters tonight to win the contest tonight. The question, Claude Richard and Enortap tied the game at the end. And RJ, Nicolas, Marko, Bill, Andy, and Gary were all round. And the last question, the last 2 questions, guys, everybody win at 1 and 3. And unfortunately for Luke and Randy, 0 and 3. But what a great game tonight about that one. Roy win also. He did it. I will give it to Roy because the internet behind baby about that one over there. So this is the winner of tonight, guys. Amazing performance for everybody. We have 9 contest people win tonight, everybody. Thanks so much for that one. Try to get up that song. There we go. Congratulations, Marko. You're still winning. That's the good news about that, Marko. That's a good thing about this. We go to over 2 hours tonight, guys. It was a great show. Hopefully you enjoyed, everybody. Don't forget, please, to click on the like. That'd be awesome. That'd be great. We are back next Wednesday for another Habs Barbecue Show. It'll be the last one of the season. And we know after the little birthday, we move on for year number 4 of the Hockey Nation Live show. We want to thank all the moderators in the chat. Thanks so much. Ron, Jose was there earlier. Luciano was another one, of course. And the co-host, Enortap and Marko Larabi. And, of course, everybody participate tonight in the chat. You have a great conversation, guys, from left to right. But talk about Matthews at the beginning. Then we finish strong with the Montreal Canadiens. Thanks so much, everybody, participate to the show tonight. We are not back tomorrow night. We are back Sunday night. Until next Wednesday, we'll be back live at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. But before we leave, guys, we want to remind for both of them, you are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you. You have greatness inside of you. Hopefully your dog, Marko, is not waiting for you because you passed the time for him. Hopefully your wife took care about the dog. And of course, Mr. Enortap, we are really, really pleased to have you. Both of you win tonight the contest, by the way. Pretty unique about that one. Congratulations. Come back from Enortap by the game at the end. Thanks so much, both of you. Thanks so much, everybody. And before we leave, we invite you to say, don't forget, we are back Sunday night, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Be well, BL. Find a way not only donate your day, but find a way to donate the second half of what, Mr. Enortap?
Year 2023.
You did it again. An amazing, great night, sweet dreams. See you next weekend. Thanks so much, Marko and Mr. Enortap.
Good night, Coach.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
See you, Marko.
Yeah.
Come on, get a grip now of all the ways we parted. You showed in your own way we would stand and we would fall united. Come on,
Oh, 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 oh. Booyah!